Good morning, adventurers. My name is Ben, and welcome to a morning show where I sit around, drink some tea, and talk about D&D. First up for D&D today, we have the mug. It's got a D&D saplock of a mug on the mug. Inside of it, we've got some Shadowfell Slumber from D&T. Go check them out. They're really good. This is a delicious sort of nighttime tea. But I'm talking super fast because we have a lot to get through today. Wizards Direct happened, and it was more than I was thinking it was going to be. And so I was supposed to talk about Spelljammer today. I haven't quite finished that because as soon as Wizards Direct happened, I went into like a panic spiral. And so here we are. So we're going to talk about Wizards Direct instead. Spelljammer is going to be next week. Hang with me. I promise this might be a long one because we have a lot to get through with how much they talked about. One thing huge in particular. I mean, there's plenty of big stuff, but let's get into it. First things first. This winter, December, we have Dragonlance, Shadow of the Dragon Queen coming out. It is the Dragonlance book that we've been waiting for. It's an adventure, so it looks like it's going to be centered around Tiamat. This thing is the property that is being developed in conjunction with an actual like tabletop board game, which is pretty cool if you're into that kind of thing. So you have the ability to play the D&D game and play the board game at the same time to tell one cohesive story. You don't need to play one to play the other, according to Wizards as of this point. The other big thing with that is it is the first property that they are putting out since they acquired D&D Beyond that they are putting out a bundle for. You can get a D&D Beyond and physical copy bundle from Wizards directly for $60 US for the standard base edition, plus shipping, which is like $12 domestic in the US. I didn't really look at the international ones. I know that it's crazy expensive to ship out of the country. I'm sorry. I don't know why they're doing that. Not the point. But you have the ability to get those things in conjunction with each other if you play both in person and online, or you like to use the physical books and the digital sort of compendium that is D&D Beyond. That is a great option for you. Even at, what is that, $60, $72, that is going to be approximately the cost of ordering the book on Amazon and ordering the digital copy on D&D Beyond put together. And then you're not... I wish that they were offering that, like, bundle at brick and mortar stores, because I would much rather get my stuff from the local game shop. It's around the corner. I really love it. But straight from Wizards to get it that way is great, I guess. Really, the big kicker with that is that you get your D&D Beyond copy 2 weeks early if you are doing that. That means you get the book ahead of everybody else who is not ordering it directly through Wizards, which is something Wizards can do because they control the production there. But that's the way that goes. So check that out. Unfortunately, we are not getting retroactive codes at this point for all the books we already own in physical copy. Kind of expected that. It's going to be really hard to do if they ever even try and implement it, so I'm not super shocked about that one. But we are looking down the barrel, essentially, of being able to combine physical copies and D&D Beyond copies, which is pretty cool. In conjunction with that as well, they've announced that there's going to be a D&D Beyond VTT coming out, so that hopefully, quote-unquote, they will be able to just centralize everything in D&D Beyond, which is honestly, I think, a good thing for D&D specifically. Roll20 is fantastic, but D&D Beyond is the most user-friendly digital character sheet that I have ever found, and I've used quite a few of them, and I adore D&D Beyond's character sheet. And so the fact that they're going to be integrating a VTT with that honestly might make life a lot easier for a lot of people. Especially if they roll it into the subscriptions that already exist, because a lot of people do subscribe already. But that is all the immediate upcoming stuff for the 2022 calendar year. In 2023, we have the full release schedule of what they're looking to put out. We have 4 books coming, from what I can tell, in 2023, early 2023, winter-ish time. We have Keys from the Golden Vault. That is going to be a heist-type anthology adventure adventure book, like Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel, but heists and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. In the spring, we have Bigby Presents The Glory of Giants. That is going to be similar to Fizzbands, but centered around giants instead of dragons. In the summertime, we are getting a Phandelver adventure. They are expanding on the Lost Mine, which is really great because it's the way that a lot of people were introduced to D&D. If you just bought the starter set and went for it, it's widely regarded to be one of the better modules that has been published. I'm excited to see what they take, or the direction that they take it in. It says that there are going to be aspects of cosmic horror in it, which is interesting. I don't mind the direction they're going with all of the like multiverse kind of stuff and the sci-fi kind of stuff, but I do hope that they don't lose the like core fantasy of it all. But you know, that's the way it goes. And then in fall, we have Planescape coming out. It is going to be like Spelljammer, which we're in right now as well. I can't believe that they did this immediately after Spelljammer came out, but I guess it makes sense, but it doesn't at the same time. It's going to be like Spelljammer in that it is a setting that has a slip book set. It's going to be a 3-book set. It's going to have the sort of like player guide, DM guide kind of thing, the bestiary, and the adventure module contained within it. Probably a DM screen as well. That's just the way that they do those things. So look forward to that. I'm super excited about Planescape. I think it's really cool. They have left the interplanar travel stuff neglected for far too long. At least that is the opinion that I am of. Sorry, I got 2 different drinks going on right now because I'm all amped up. But getting onto the meat of it, the biggest thing that they talked about, the thing that we have been waiting to hear some more information about, the thing that I didn't think they were actually going to hit on today. Well, yesterday. I'm shooting this on Thursday, obviously. 1D&D. 1D&D is the next step in Dungeons and Dragons. That is such a weird thing to say. I have felt this weird feeling in my chest since I saw it announced. And not in like a oh god, I'm nervous kind of way, or an oh my god, I'm so excited kind of way. Just I felt kind of off in my chest, and I don't really know why. And then as I like went through and I really took a look at it, I found the character origins option, the UA that they put out for it. I read through it. I feel interesting about it. By the way, on D&D Beyond right now, you can sign up to be part of the whole like playtesting thing for 1D&D. The character options is available in there. It is a 21-page PDF. It is the biggest UA that they have put out in recent memory, if not ever, for 5th edition. So go check it out for real. So the thing with 1D&D is that they want to essentially create a more encompassing experience, is essentially how they said it, for everybody that's ever played D&D. The game's been out for 50 years. It is a generational game at this point. So they want to be able to sort of like expand and integrate different aspects from across the different editions. They want it to stop being editions. They want it to just be this thing moving forward, which essentially really means that they want to take 5th edition and they want to add a couple of things to it, take a couple of things away to try and make it more inclusive towards the older generations of the game. So, as I mentioned, I went through the 21-page PDF for 1D&D. I highlighted a bunch of stuff that I thought was worth mentioning, and we're going to run through this bad boy right now. It is absolutely worth reading. If you enjoy Dungeons & Dragons, if you're invested in the future of it at all, highly recommend going and checking this out, because it is not something to miss. It is not something to be caught not knowing anything about when this change does come, because there are going to be some changes. It is very obvious to me that this is going to change the way that the game is played. Obviously, that's the way that it goes. That's the reason they're doing this. But if this is going to be what the game is moving forward, and they don't have any intention to change any additions at all moving forward, then it is something to get on early so that you are familiar. You have the ability to help voice your concerns, your critiques, your appreciations, there we go, not appreciatives, for the things that they are changing, they're adding, they're adjusting. Get in early, get on it, and stay vigilant, stay on these things. I will be talking about them as they come out, because this is huge news. This is the biggest news that could be going on right now with this. Okay, so getting into the PDF. This specifically, this 21-page PDF outlines character races, character backgrounds, starting languages, feats, and a rules glossary. That is 5 pretty hefty sections to have jammed all up into a single PDF. So let's talk about what we've got here, okay? All right. So obviously there's the notice on here that this is playtest material. You shouldn't like take it all as gospel immediately. Stuff is going to change. That's the way it goes. Sorry, my throat's really dry. I just finished DMing session 2. So this essentially is an outline of the skeleton for how they're going to go about character creation in the next iteration here. So what they're going to do is you're going to pick a race, pick a background, pick some languages, a feat, and then you are going to go to your class from there. We'll see how that actually shakes out working and stuff like that, because class is obviously going to have a major impact on this, but for now, this is what they're doing. Important adjustments. Their racial stuff is staying mostly the same, and by the same, I mean the way that they have adjusted it to be now. The way that they change things when Tasha's hit. Races are mostly going to be the same, with one major thing. Well, a couple of major things. One major thing in particular. That is that your ASIs are tied to your background, not your race, in this edition. So all of that is being shifted off. The things that are associated with your race are your creature type, your size, your speed, your lifespan, and a couple of special traits. Your background has your ability score increases. It has your skill proficiencies, tool proficiencies, languages, feats, and equipment. So, backgrounds are going to become something that is actually useful to you in the game, which is a good change, I think. But it is interesting to put so many of those things into your background. They all make sense. Don't get me wrong. They do. It just is... I'm interested to see the way that it goes. Something else that is important that they mentioned this early in the thing, but that they don't actually talk about till later, that the feats that they're talking about are going to be ranked and leveled. There are going to be leveled feats that you get through here. You can't take certain feats at certain levels. You have to meet or beat the level of the feat in order to be able to take the feat. So you get access to first level feats in this specific instance. Okay, moving forward. Character races. They present some of the races here. They talk about it in a way that makes it seem like they're going to be revising the original handbook races, which is interesting when you look at what they picked here. Humans first. Humans. There are not as many things in this as you might remember from the human from the PHB. The things that the human get. Type, size, speed, lifespan, whatever. That's all the same. What we've got here, as a human, you have these special traits. The special traits are really the interesting part of all of these things. Resourceful. You gain inspiration whenever you finish a long rest. That is the advantage kind of inspiration, the thing that you can expend to gain advantage on a die roll. Skillful, you gain proficiency in one skill of your choice. Not super exciting. Versatile, you gain the skilled feat or another first level feat of your choice. You get a feat in your race for this if you are a human. There's no variant human. There's no nothing like that. You just get a feat as a human in your race. Straight up. That's the way it goes. Next up, after humans, Ardlings. This appears to be in place, or it appears to be a cousin of, or a replacement for Aasimar, which is interesting. They weren't in the PHB. They didn't come till later. I'm not sure why they're coming for them right now. But you have Ardlings, which are creatures or individuals from the higher upper planes they originate from the upper planes. There are 3 celestial legacies: exalted, heavenly, and idyllic. Traits, type, size, speed, lifespan, whatever. As an Ardling, you get access to angelic flight, which allows you to sprout wings that lets you fly your walking speed until the end of this turn, then you fall back to the ground. Kind of the way that they've been doing temporary wings for a lot of races, classes, features, that kind of thing. In addition to that, the way that they have it broken down is that these sub-races are on a table, and you just get essentially spells from your sub-races for the most part. It's a little different in a couple of them, but for the most part, it's just spells. Like in the player's handbook, there were full sections on like wood elf, high elf, drow. Not the case. Not the case here. We'll get to elves in a second. Next up are Dragonborns. The most notable thing to me in this Dragonborn section is that your Draconic Ancestor does not include any of the gem dragons. All of the Draconic Ancestors listed here are the chromatic and the metallic dragons. There are no gems listed in the Dragonborn section. Take that for what you will. They probably will add them later. They might just use the ones that already exist. Who knows? They just rewrote Dragonborn. I'm kind of surprised to see them in here at all, honestly. In addition to that, the other important notable thing in my mind is your breath weapon is different now. Now, when you use your breath weapon, it is a DC equal to 8 plus your con mod plus your proficiency bonus. On a failed save, the creature takes 1d10 plus your character level and damage type. That's better than it is. It still kind of sucks, though, honestly. The breath weapon is criminal in how bad it is most of the time. It's a good little AoE, but it does not, like, get you out of anything. And as an action, it's just not a super viable thing late in the game. And by late, I mean even mid-tier. It's really just not. Like, if you're level 10, you can do up to 20 damage using your breath weapon in a 15-foot cone. That is up to 3 creatures in front of you. It's not worth it. I want them to actually revamp it to make it something that you can use a decent amount of times. Or a decent amount. You do get to use it a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, which is much better. Next up are the dwarves. Dwarves stay a lot of similar things, except for the fact that they are pulling the subraces out of there. There's no hill or mountain dwarf. Instead, they add dwarven toughness from the hill dwarf into the core of the dwarf class. And they added stone cutting as a bonus action. You gain tremor sense with a range of 60 feet for 10 minutes. You must be on stone surface or touching a stone surface to use tremor sense. That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Next up, we have elves. These all are honestly the least changed race that I saw in this whole thing. The biggest thing is that they gave actual like mini spell lists to each of the different subraces of elves. Because again, Drow, High Elf, Wood Elf are the ones that you get here. Otherwise, their features and traits are mostly the same. Getting down to gnomes. The big one with gnomes here, there's a couple of things, but the big one is that gnome cunning in this document no longer is specifically against magic. It is advantage on all intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws. All of them. Most of those are magic based. Pretty much all of them are magic based. But that is every single one of them. That means Mind Flayer stuff. That's the one that comes to mind because I was just using Mind Flayers in my last session. Not the point. That's huge. And then your two subraces, Forest and Rock Gnomes, you get a couple of spells. And the Rock Gnome can make little clockwork devices that can do little artificery kind of stuff, which is pretty cool. But it's not groundbreaking, earth shattering. There we go. Halflings. Next up is halflings. Halflings are pretty much the same as normal. Halflings are also the first section that you hear. Well, you read the new vernacular for not vernacular. The new language for D20 rolls. They are called D20 tests in this document, which I didn't know. I got really confused when I got to this point. Thought it was some new thing that they were introducing. Is just attack roll ability check or saving throw. Is when you roll a D20. The only thing that halflings pick up here is that you gain proficiency in the stealth skill. Skipping down next, we have orcs. They are cutting half orcs, it appears. At least there are no half orcs in this. Orcs are identical to the orcs most recently released, so you can just look at that, and it is pretty much all exactly the same. Tieflings, they actually gave subraces to, which is interesting. But for the most part, the biggest thing that they add here is the subraces and then the mini spell lists that go with each of those subraces, as well as a couple of like resistances. You can either have resistance to poison damage, resistance to necrotic damage, or resistance to fire damage. That is the end of the races that they give us in this one. Moving forward to the backgrounds. This section lays out the way to build a background for you. It also gives you some example backgrounds, but it seems like the intention is more for you to actually build out your background. Not to be like, oh, I was a fisherman or something. The idea is for you to like think about it and put some more time into it, which is good, I think. We'll see how it turns out, but background features, you gain your ASIs here, which is great. 2 skill proficiencies, 1 tool proficiency, 1 language, 1 first level feat, and your equipment, which is all really great. Pretty standard stuff, nothing too crazy there. And then it dives into a bunch of the sample backgrounds. I'm not going to go into those because, quite frankly, they're mind-numbingly boring to read because it's not full of flavor or anything like that. It's just a little bit of like plot hookiness that could be there if you wanted to use it, which is exactly what it is laid out to be. Like they say that that's exactly what it is. But a good example here, we'll just use Gladiator because it's sitting in front of me. Ability scores +2 strength, +1 charisma. Skill proficiencies are athletics and performance. Dual proficiency is smith tools. Language is orcish. Feat is savage attacker. Your first few appearances, blah, blah, blah. Equipment, chain, costume, healer's kit, javelins, smith tools, traveler's clothes, and 15 gold. That's everything that they give you there. The blah, blah, blah that I said is about 3 sentences long. I just don't want to read it all. But they give you a handful of these, a couple of pages, nothing too crazy. The languages, nothing new here, honestly. Just that things like thieves can't and druidic are now options for people. That's the biggest change there. Oh, and there's common sign language, which is pretty cool. I think that's a really cool sort of addition to it. Feats. Here's another big one. So let's just run. Let's just run on it. I'm not going to go through each of the feats because, again, there's some new ones. There's some old ones. Like, I'm not going to go through them. But here we go. Each feat has a level. To take a feat, you must meet or exceed the feat's level. Important. Prerequisite. You must meet any prerequisite specified in the feat to take that feat. If you don't meet it, then you can't take it. If you lose that prereq, you can't use that feat until you regain the prereq. I don't know what situations that might happen in, but that is important. Presumably, if it's like you need an intelligence score of 16 or something like that, and you have the headband of intellect, and your normal intelligence score is 7, and so you're up to 19 just magically. That's what I'm guessing. What is nice is that they lay out for you. Good example. The first one here, it's pretty quick. Alert. First level feat. So here we go. Alert. First level feat. Prerequisite. None. Repeatable. No. Always on the lookout for danger. You gain the following benefits. Initiative proficiency. When you roll initiative, you can add your proficiency bonus to the roll. Initiative swap. Immediately after you roll initiative, you can swap your initiative in the initiative order of one of the willing a willing ally in the same combat. You can't make the swap if you're the allies incapacitated. Done. End of feat. So they've really distilled it down. There's not a whole lot of like extra bubbly text in there. Alert's a pretty straightforward one anyway. Feats were never like something that have a lot of like flowery language associated with them, so I wasn't super worried about that. But there aren't a lot of these that are too crazy. These are honestly not that long. There's only like a page and a half of them. The other one that I wanted to hit on is Lucky, because they have made Lucky better somehow, it seems like. It does all pretty much the exact same things, except that you have a number of luck points equal to your proficiency bonus. You can spend luck points on the benefits below, and you regain your expended luck points when you finish a long rest. Equal to your proficiency bonus. You get up to 6 luck points every long rest. That's crazy. You can only use them, however. You can't give yourself triple advantage. You can give yourself advantage if you don't have advantage. Or you can impose disadvantage on something that is attacking you. So it's dumbed down a little bit there, but it's still very, very good, just in general. So, again, there's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 feats on here. Nothing crazy. I assume they're going to add more because you can't just have 8 first level feats for all backgrounds ever. I don't think. Maybe you can. I don't know. But there you go. Those are the feats. Now, into the rules glossary. This is where there are a couple things that stick out to me in particular. The first one, the very first thing that they have in the rules glossary is arcane spells. And I went, oh, that's weird. Then you scroll to the bottom, and there's the spell list at the bottom. It seems that they have distilled the spell list down into arcane spells, divine spells, and primal spells. Arcane spells include things like bards, sorcerers, warlocks, wizards, and artificers. Divine spells are clerics and paladins. Primal spells are your druids and rangers. It seems like they are going to have 3 master spell lists, and that is all. There is not going to be class-specific spell lists, which to a degree is great. To a degree, I don't love. We'll see how it shakes out. I hope it doesn't really affect things like the Divine Soul Sorcerer too much. I love my baby boy. I love Divine Soul Sorcerers. I hope to God they don't like just tear that away, but we'll see what happens. Honestly, I think ultimately that is going to be a good change more than bad, even though I do like having specifics in there just because it feels better to me to have specific spells for some classes sometimes. Like, the smites make sense to go to paladins. You know, that kind of thing. But I get where they're going with this, and I don't hate it. Next up, the biggest thing that is sticking out to me here, honestly, more than the spell list, the D20 test section. There are 3 things in here, and each of those 3 things rocks the way that the internet memes, essentially. First up, rolling a 1. If you roll a 1 on the D20 test automatically fails regardless of modifiers. 1s on ability checks are now failures. With that, just like that, 1s on ability checks are failures. Guess what? Rolling a 20. If you roll a 20 on the D20 test automatically succeeds, no matter of the modifiers. A player also gains inspiration when rolling the 20 thanks to the remarkable success. Rolling a 20 doesn't bypass limitations, blah, blah, blah. You get inspiration. You get an advantage when you roll a 20 as well. Like, whew, boy. Okay. Then critical hits. Weapons and unarmed strikes have special feature for player characters' critical hits. I highlighted that because they felt the need to put in player characters. This is just me like extrapolating and me being like a conspiracy theory. Like, imagine me as Charlie Day with the red string and everything like that. The way that is worded means that monsters, NPCs, and enemies cannot score critical hits. I don't think that is going to be the rule that officially makes it in. I think that there will be riots from DMs if that is the case, because honestly, it becomes so hard to just actually keep characters on the edge sometimes if you can't critical hit them, because sometimes having that 5% chance of really just hammering something home is enough to keep the fight dangerous without actually making it deadly. If you have to amp up to account for never being able to crit on a character, you're in trouble, because then suddenly more and more of the attacks become like crits. They just do. Like, you're suddenly dealing a little bit more damage every time and chipping away faster and faster at the players. I don't think it's a great idea. I highlighted that because it's a weird wording thing, but that is technically the way that reads. Scrolling down a little bit further, long rests are exactly the same, except for an interesting little sentence in here that I didn't expect to see. You cannot benefit from more than 1 long rest in a 24-hour period. I don't know if that's a standard rule the way that it sits, because it's not something I've ever had to think about. It just is weird to me that suddenly you can't do that, which means that you technically have to have minimum of 8 hours on either side of your long rest in order to gain the benefits of another long rest. Don't love that, but that's okay. They also have something in here that is just essentially talking about how if the rest is interrupted, you can get a short rest as long as the rest was at least 1 hour long, but it doesn't get the rest of the benefits. Whatever, we knew that already. That's kind of how a lot of people play it. Sort of. It's how I've played it in the past. Next up, we have unarmed strikes. Interesting additions here. Damage is still the same. Bludgeoning damage equal to 1 plus your strength. But unarmed strikes, apparently now you can use attack rolls to initiate the grapples and the shoves, as opposed to it being athletics, acrobatics contests, which honestly, probably better that way. It really probably is. The grapple, a little iffy, but the shove makes more sense this way. As long as you can like get in and really hit somebody, you should be able to shove them. I get it. I get the way that it was, but I do think I like this one more for that. And down to finally the spell list. I scanned through it real quick. There's one notable exception on here that I didn't see because it's only cantrips and first level spells. And it is a stripped down version of everything that has been in the Player's Handbook, Xanathar's like all of the spells that have been added over the years. There's no Eldritch Blast on here, which is weird. Like, why would they get rid of everybody's favorite cantrip? Are they getting rid of it? That would be a choice. That'd be a really odd choice. Maybe it's going to be something that warlocks get no matter what. Maybe it's going to become a feature that warlocks just automatically have. I could see that being the case, so that you can take other cantrips instead of having to eat up one of your slots with Eldritch Blast. That'd be kind of cool. It's that kind of thing. That was the one that really stuck out to me here. I get the feeling that they might have some things like that baked in, where like you automatically get these other spells for being this class. But like the smites are on this list. Well, the first level smites are on this list. So we'll see where we end up with that, but it's fine. We'll figure it out. It's fine. That is the end of that document. That brings us to the end of Wizards Direct. Man, oh man. I'm excited, guys. I think it's going to be cool. I can't wait to see what else they push out. I'm going to be combing through this another few times. I'm going to be playing a one-shot or two with it. I'm gonna see what we can do. But until we get classes, there isn't that much that is wildly different. I don't think. I might be wrong, but I think that the classes are going to be the thing that really sort of hammer it home and tell us where they're trying to go. This stuff is all great, but consistently to a character, background and race have played more, well, background, I guess, for lack of a better word, roles than the class. So I'm interested to see. I am interested to see where we end up. But I'm excited. I'm excited about it. Anyway, the shows. The shows that we have today and this weekend. Oh boy. My tea has gotten much, much colder over the course of this whole shoot. Okay, so the shows we have today. We have Mayhem D&D, Off the Rails, Oxventure, Just Roll With It, The Strings of Fate, Rolling with Difficulty, The World of Low, The Crown DM, and Coming Together Naturally. I should actually be on the next episode, I believe, of Coming Together Naturally, so check that out. It should be pretty cool. I had a really good time playing with them. They're really great people. Go check them out. Tomorrow, we have Dice Funk and Strange Hungers. And finally, on Sunday, we have Super Idols, Roll For Your Life, Grinning Griffin, Dungeon Drunks, Library of Nightmares, The Chaos Brigade, Rise of the Forsaken, Chromatic Dice, The Strawcast, High Rollers, and Tabletop Notch. Go check them out. Let them know that I sent you, because eventually somebody's going to say something to me about it, and I think it's going to be hysterical. But until then, we are not going, or I'm just going to keep saying it. So, with all that said, everybody, that is everything I had to talk to you guys about today. So thank you so very much for making me part of your morning routine. I really do appreciate it. And thank you so much in particular to my patrons. You guys are the ones that make this show possible. If you're interested in becoming a patron, check out the link in the episode description. And also, thank you guys for sticking with me through this one, because this is a long one. I know, I'm sorry, but there's so much to talk about. D&D 1, or 1D&D is going to be bonkers. It is going to be the biggest news wave in this community in a decade. So thank you for coming with me. I'm going to do my best to keep you guys updated on it. You're all lovely. With all that said, don't forget, everybody, drink tea, play D&D, and keep on rolling.